Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is 3 p.m. ET, a special time for a very special crime time, and we are so pleased that you have joined us here today. I'm your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 14 novels of suspense, going on 15. I have a week to get book 15 in. I know what will happen. I know it will happen. My newest book is called The House Guest, which went into a second printing after 6 days, so I am happy. And that is you. Thank you so much. That is you. But today we have the absolute joy of welcoming the brilliant, iconic, wonderful, hilarious, just perfect person in the world, Lisa Scottoline, and her brand new book, Loyalty, an instant New York Times bestseller, which does not happen very often to most people. I have to say, it is wonderful. It is epic. It is deep and thought-provoking and immersive, and you will not be able to put it down. And I'm so pleased that Lisa is here today. Welcome. You must be on such a ride with this.
I am, but thank you for that lovely introduction. And you know that you are one of my favorite people in the world and one of my favorite authors. And I love all of your books, especially The House Guest. So it's it's high praise coming from you. And I really am honored. Thank you for it.
Well, your name is on the cover, so I am honored about that. And people look at that and they say, "Oh, Lisa Scottoline." They say Lisa Scottoline. So
loved it. She loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. Look at everyone who's here. This is great. Anissa is here, and Michelle is here, and Melissa T is here, and Margaret Pennard is here, who says, "I want to sail off into that cover." Yes, we definitely all want to be in Sicily. Shannon Hansen and Marlene Waters and Vicki Gregory and Linda Boyd and Lynn Hanneman is here saying two of my favorites together. That is great. Oh, that's so nice, Shannon Hansen. All of you are here. Pamela Fry-Priest and Mary. Linda Boyd says, "Yay, cannot wait to read it." Well, wait about just 15 more minutes, 15 or 20 more minutes, and run to get Loyalty. It is gorgeous. The cover is gorgeous. The paper is gorgeous. It's all gorgeous. Anyway, on that gorgeous cover, Kristen Hanna says it is unputdownable, powerful, and poignant. What do you think about the choice of those three words?
I was really honored. I love her books. And I thought, it's hard when there's a lot going on in this book. And I thought she really distilled it to the things that I felt that it was in my heart. And so I was very grateful to her for the quote. And I love those words.
I mean, what do you think about powerful? Why do you think she chose powerful?
I think that, I used to write thrillers and I like drama. Things happen in my books. And usually there's a murder and there's dramatic assertion of people trying to get justice and struggle and conflict. And those concepts embody power and the clash of power. And that's what drama is about. So I'm paying attention when I hear that kind of thing in a book. The stakes are high, not low.
Yes. Everybody wants something, and what they want is in conflict. And how will they go to get what they want? And that is so purely the essence of loyalty, for better or for worse, for better or for worse.
Right. For their undoing or their success. Exactly.
And then poignant also is so relevant to this novel because it's about people who we come to love and care about.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I think character really matters. It's like my 35th book in 35 years and 35 books. And I'm in it for the heart. I'm kind of an emotional person. I wake up kind of, I feel all the feels all the time. And part of what happens is I think that happens to writers and also happens to readers. I think reading develops that empathy and also emotionality. And then you begin to have characters who behave in ways that are realistic. They're flawed, but they act with heart. Yeah. And so you feel it in each of the characters, even though there's a different iteration with respect to each one. And above all, there is that.
And we'll talk about the individual characters in a minute, but the thing that you do that's so gorgeous, and if you just joined us, look at all the people you all. We are talking with Lisa Scottoline about Loyalty, the instant New York Times bestseller. You allow us, you help us to care about these characters. We're on the journey with them, and to us, they are real. Do they feel real to you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, maybe I need more people in my life, but I live alone. I have the dogs, I have a cat. And I get immersed, particularly in historical fiction, although it's true in the thrillers as well. I'm kind of doing both now.
Mm.
You, especially with something like loyalty, because you're transported to a different place and a different time. And as soon as that happens a little bit, it sweeps me away too. So I'm inhabiting each of these characters, and I write with an outline. So I have to go, I wrote without an outline. So I have to go, what would they do next? And then you are in their shoes, literally. So you are swept away and you travel with them and you succeed with them or you fail with them.
I mean, it's interesting because I don't use an outline either.
Hey, that's why we like each other. That's why we like each other.
But you do, there is a moment where you think, well, now what?
I know.
And I ask myself at that moment, what would really happen? What is someone really thinking? What do they really want?
Right. And also what happens is the characters, as they say, they do take on a life of their own and they ping off of each other. So if X does something, let's say in the book, Alfredo, an older man does something, that will cause a reaction in somebody else. And the next chapter is that reaction. So their action becomes who they are. And in a way, plot and character become one. And so does voice, but that's another topic. And that's what I think is really cool and magical about writing books and also about reading them. You're like, oh, look at that. That makes sense. Look what he did. I would have done that too. Or I might not have done that, but I get why he did that.
So important. I might not have done that, but I get why they did it. And that's
exactly.
Because conflict and story is a series of people making decisions about things. And the decision, the conflict reveals their character. Do they do the selfish, mean, venal thing, or do they do the benevolent, wise, unselfish thing?
Right. And, I read something in a book about how to write once that I loved. And anyone who wants to write, I really would encourage. But it said something like, drama is choice. And the comparison he made is anytime a character has to make a choice, that's the drama. Bad things happening to a character is just Job. Like, that's not a story. The story is, what choice does he make? Flesh that choice out. What do you do? And I love that as a life lesson. What do you do after you fall down? What choice do you make? We've all fallen down. We will all fall down. Bad things will happen. I'm divorced twice. The question is, that was a good thing, but both were good things. But then I just, what do you do next? What do you do next? And I love that we all find strength in ourselves. I hope the characters do find strength in themselves they didn't know they had, and they go forward.
And that's what takes us right back to the center of power. It's about finding your own power, not tapping onto someone else's power or not inflicting that power on someone else. Before I forget, I'm forgetting all of the housekeeping, and there's so many. Let me just say really, really quickly, welcome to A Mighty Blaze. A Mighty Blaze was founded at the beginning of the pandemic, which was 3 years ago, ridiculously enough, by the incredible powerhouse team of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt to keep us all talking about books, to keep us all together, to keep us as a community discovering new books and maybe visiting our favorite authors and finding some new favorite authors. And that's why we are here today talking to the fabulous Lisa Scottoline about her 35th book, Loyalty, a New York Times bestseller, one of so many. Quickly, let me read you Lisa's formal short bio, just so you know. I know you know her, you all. Susie is here, and Sharon is here, and Mary is here, and Renee is here asking, Lisa, what are you drinking? She says.
Seltzer, baby.
What
high-end seltzer? Pretentious seltzer.
La Croix. Is it grapefruit?
Yeah, I love it. It wakes me up.
I love grapefruit seltzer.
I know, it's delicious.
Delicious. Anyway, Lisa Scottoline, while she drinks her La Croix pamplemousse. Let me tell you a little about our author. Lisa Scottoline is the #1 best-selling and Edgar Award-winning author of 35 novels. A former president of Mystery Writers of America, she has 30 million copies of her books in print and has been published in 35 countries. Her books have been optioned for film and television, and she has also co-authored a series of humorous memoirs with her daughter, novelist Francesca Saratella, another brilliant author. A former lawyer, can you be a former lawyer? Lawyer, Scottoline taught a course. She developed justice and fiction at the University of Pennsylvania Law School, her alma mater. She lives on a farm outside Pennsylvania with an array of disobedient pets. And if you follow her on Facebook and Instagram, you will see those disobedient pets in much hilarity. So I was trying to talk with someone about this book, Lisa, and I said it's historical fiction, but it's also a love story and a murder mystery and a kidnapping mystery. And it's just a family saga. It's just an epic, epic story.
Oh, you're so nice to say that. Thank you.
Oh, I loved it. It's immersive. And just tell us about it.
Well, before I do, I want to underline something you said that was so interesting and important. You know, I sort of said this idea that how hardship can lead to us figuring out that we're stronger than we know. And then you led into what you called your housekeeping about a mighty blaze in crime time. But I have to say to you, first, thank you. And that there is actually this is a great example of what I was talking about, that here you all are, and you too, along with Caroline and Jenna, who decide we're going to have to figure out a way to get through this COVID. We're going to have to support other authors. People still want to read. In fact, they're reading more. You're in front of my signed books. You're over there. And I don't think there's a better example than you guys. And it's really wonderful. And so I'm grateful to you as an author, but I'm also grateful to you as a reader. And I know I speak for everyone. As a lawyer, I get to do that. And just say thank you. You just illustrate my point. So anyway, to my book, I love what you said, because I'm just going to secretly say, and maybe women have to start to own what they're trying to do and their ambition. I really was trying to write an epic. I mean, I really was. I had been writing thrillers, and I love thrillers. But all of a sudden, I started to feel, maybe as I got older, I was like, I want to really expand this canvas. And Loyalty is a story of 4 characters who are living in Sicily at the time of the mafia, when the mafia begins. And we can talk more about those characters in each of those stories and how they combine and collide and then tell the rest of the story. But it really got broader as a story when I went to Sicily to do the research. And I said, really what this is about is a story about family and justice and love and the rise of Sicily. And when you think about the commonality of what was happening in Sicily at the time, namely that laws were being made by colonizers and enacting in fair and very unfair ways, depending on what class you were in at Sicily at the time, I thought, in a way, you're telling a timeless story. That law doesn't always serve everybody, that sometimes the rich are served far better than the poor, and that's just relevant today. So in a way, what's it about? It's about a lot of things, but written narrow, it's about these 4 main characters and how they live at this very turbulent, very difficult time that's so full of hardship and crime.
And we'll set it up for us. Did you think about Sicily first and then go to do the research and then write the book? Or did you write part of the book and then go to Sicily and then realize that it was more? How did that all happen?
Right. So this is where, like, I want to come off classy and impress people, but then this is where people find out what I'm really like, which is, I can't sit still in the chair, but also that I don't write with an outline and I don't plan it. I had written historical fiction for the first time in Eternal, which I really loved doing. And I think it improved my thriller writing in a way. And then I said, well, I'm interested in Sicily. I always have been, mainly because my background is Southern Italian. And I feel so of it, even though that ends up being wrong. I mean, when I went to Sicily, I had nothing written before in answer to your question. I just said, I'm going to soak everything, see what stories come to be. The only thing I knew was that the mafia arose in Sicily. And frankly, as an Italian American, I'm very proud of being American, obviously. I come from an immigrant family, but for public education and public libraries, I get interviewed by you. Like, that's amazing. So, but at the same time, I'm proud about my ancestry. And I kind of wondered why the mafia was born in Sicily and why then. It was just a question I had. Just as with Eternal, my first novel of historical fiction, I said, why did fascism arise in Italy during Mussolini? What was going on there? Go and find out and turn it into a story. And that's a little what happened. I went to Sicily. So I had in mind a character who would be the first mafia family, which he is. And then why did he become that? Well, you learn briefly that he had a lemon grove and toiled his whole life and wanted to have his own lemon grove. But the way the laws were structured, you couldn't just buy land, even if you had the money. And so you start to see how people resort when you can't go up lawfully. You start to do workarounds that are less than lawful. And then when I was in Palermo, I found that, do you want to ask something and then I'll finally shut up?
No, I'm just listening. I'm taking it all in.
The headline was that when I was in Palermo, I had this idea for this main character. And then I noticed that I sort of learned in my research, which was extensive because I love to read books, that there was a real life secret society called the Beati Pauli, or the Pauli, the Blessed of St. Paul. And they were an organization of aristocrats that actually arose in reaction to these awful lawlessness and corruption. And they tried to fight crime in Palermo. And I said, well, Lisa, you're supposed to be a novelist. If you can't see an antagonist and a protagonist, although interestedly, which is which,
Yes.
I love that. Well, then that's my two main characters. And that's what I started with. And then it expanded from there.
And I love how your mind just braids ideas together, and something new blooms from it. What is it about Sicily and where it is and how it was populated that made this be such a place of turmoil and change?
Yeah, I think there is something about that. This is a dumb analogy, but I've seen sometimes, like I'm on Twitter, I'm on all social media. It's me, really. And I saw somebody saying, I get my best ideas on airplanes. And I thought that happens to me too, also in the shower. And I thought Sicily, in a way, it's an island, and it's in the middle of the Mediterranean. Now, as a factual matter, during the 1800s, it was a really valuable trade route, and it started to grow lemons. And at the same time, the British Navy discovered that lemons cure scurvy. And so the price of lemons became through the roof. And what's interesting is about that is that you start to understand that something about an island in the middle of nowhere, like a plane in the middle of the sky, can stand in for so much more, can be a microcosm in so many ways. And so when I started to travel out of Palermo, I found so much more to Sicily than the lemon groves in Palermo. I found the fishing villages, and I said, well, if you're going to write about Sicily and something bigger, you have to have a character from there. So I had a single mother from a Porticello, a fishing village. Well, still, she has to be authentic. I am a single mother. I've been my whole life, even though my daughter's all grown now. I can write that. A single mother on her own with a young child, that's my life story. So then I started to go into the mountain villages, and I also learned the horror of the Spanish Inquisition, which, believe it or not, even in the 1800s, had eliminated Jews mostly from the island of Sicily, and still has. You can't get a better and more horrifying example of how law can enact injustice than that. Jews were so persecuted, they were driven away, their property was taken, Muslims as well. And so there were some Jews who went into hiding. They were called conversos or moranos. And I said, well, you have to have a character who does that. Who is that? And that's Alfredo. Well, let's think. He's an older man who lives alone with three goats. I was going to say 3 dogs because I'm an older woman who lives alone with 3 dogs. And you kind of put yourself into each character and you imagine what you would do, and what they would do, and how those 4 the question becomes the braiding that you were so kind to say, because I'm writing this with no outline, just as you say, and going, what's going to happen next? And by the way, Lisa, are these 4 going to come together, and how?
And that's an interesting thing, because you have these 4 superly important, superly layered characters. And you say you inhabit each of them, which you can feel in the book. We're talking about Lisa Scottoline's loyalty. You can feel the passion coming through you in each character's point of view in the book. But you, on a higher plane, as the author, have to figure out what the story is, with a beginning, middle, and an end, and a problem that needs to be solved, along with the characters that we care about. And somehow the good guys win and the bad guys get what's coming to them, kind of, if maybe, and if however the world works. So you have, even though you don't work with an outline, you know what a story is. You know how a story has to be. So how did you think about weaving these characters together in a whole, when they were just parts of a whole?
Well, at first I was worried because there's 4 different viewpoints, and I said, well, can people handle that? I said, yeah, they can. And also that it's they're disparate, which I thought would help people delineate one from the next. So there's 2 in Palermo, there's 1 in a fishing village, there's 1 in a mountain town. They're all different ages and genders. So the thing is, that's hard, and I'm not complaining, because that's what the magic is. That you go, how will these characters come together in some organic way? And you cannot force it. I didn't know if they would. I just thought, let's see what their lives, let's see what happens. I mean, and I love that for people who want to write, because nobody sees the first draft. Like, I'm very lucky because they seem to always work. And sometimes when I'm writing and I say, don't be nervous, fear not. Yes. You can't write, just let them do what they would do. And then something starts to happen organically. That's why sometimes people will say, well, if you get to the end and this wasn't right, can you go back and put in a clue? And the answer is no, because believe it or not, it really is a high wire act. Like you got to get from one cliff to the other, and it has to be believable. It can't be some aftermarket. Oh, here's the reason.
Because the clue is already there.
Exactly.
You just didn't know it was the clue when you wrote it. And that's the magic part too. That I hear that question all the time as well. Do you go back and tweak it to make it right? And I'm like, well, I hate to say this, but it's like, it's already there. I'm just moving it forward. I'm just moving this forward.
Didn't realize. Sometimes I think each character has a little world, right? And as we all do, I have a little world here in front of my sign books. I mean, you're beautiful. You have Emmys on your shelf. That's a hell of a world, Hank. I should move in your world. I got a dog. You got an Emmy. Anyway. But I forgot my point. I got so excited.
We're just talking about how the story blooms and grows on its own.
When you make
not
that
really on its own, but
exactly. But when you create the world, if you let yourself just put the things in it that would be there are things in it that you don't realize the significance of until later.
Yes.
Like, right, your brain gave it to you. I know it sounds crazy. People are going to get off and go, Scottoline is nuts. Thank God Hank was there to keep her in line. But I do think that happens. I was going, oh, of course. He makes goat cheese. What does that give me? Because I just go, well, how can poor Alfredo, realistically make a living on the land? I look around, I do the research. Well, what a lot of people did in Mountain Town was make goat cheese. Well, what can we do with that in terms of what would happen in his life? And you start to go, and you're like, that's exciting. I will tell you secretly that I do think all of that emotionality that I have and that you have, making it, the anxiety, the nervousness, am I going to get this right or am I going to lose my job? Will readers hate it? Will they love it? All that, holy God, what's going to happen next? I think it comes through an osmosis into the novel, and people are with you. They're like, oh, what's going to happen? I'm like, I don't know. I really don't.
Well, people say, well, the twists and turns in your stories, you really surprised me. I'm like, I know. Talk about a surprise.
Really, honestly, that is the God truth. That is the honest to God truth.
Yeah. I read an interview with Aaron Sorkin, who wrote everything but West Wing. And he said that he had written like 842, I'm making this up, episodes of West Wing. And that every time he started a new one, he thought, well, I don't know how I did those other ones because I can't do this anymore. I have no idea how I do this. I'm never going to do it again. It can't work. And then he would say to himself, I felt this way every time. Although when I say to my husband, I can't do this anymore. And Jonathan will say, honey, you say that every time. And I say, I know, but this could be the time that it really, doesn't work.
I'll get you a t-shirt that says, this could be the time, and we'll all understand what you meant.
But I do think that I was going to say that your voice is so big and the story is so historic, and it's so, no pressure, but it's just such an important story. Did you feel that as you were writing it?
No, because I think what happens is just like you said, I think Sorkin's absolutely right. And I feel that all the time. And then I say to myself, you always feel this way, calm down. But also that when you're telling a story, you're almost you're on your feet, you're at eye level with the characters. And I think that's really good. I wasn't thinking, oh, this is a really big theme. I was just thinking, how is Mafalda, who's a young single mother wandering across Sicily with an infant because she was cast out of her village, how is she going to survive? And so you just tell the story how she's going to survive. And it's granular, as people say. So your focus is actually very low.
Very low. Yeah, I heard that.
Right?
But it's like life. Oh, my earring is falling off. It's like life. You just take everything one step at a time. And as writers, and sometimes do you ever feel, I don't know the end of this. I've got to know the end. And then you think, just no, you don't have to know the end. You don't know the end because it hasn't happened yet.
Right. And I also think there's a point when I think this might end that way. And that happened in Loyalty. I said, this is probably how this will end. And it wasn't at all. Because there was a character, I don't want to tell you, but there was a minor character who kind of threw a curveball. And I said, that's exactly what that character would do. And this might take you off course. It isn't what you thought, but you got no course anyway. So and if everybody has to behave as they would in the subject, right? You're not off course, you're making the course. And that's a really good, it's actually weirdly not a bad life lesson, which is, I think, the appeal of really good fiction like yours and like mine and all the wonderful authors that we read, Carolyn Levitt, Jenna Blum, all the people we read, because we don't know where our life is going. We only know that whatever happens to us, we're going to have to deal or fold. And fold isn't really a good choice. And so in a way, we all take this journey. It's kind of cool.
It's very cool. I'm looking for a T-shirt that says "You're not off course, you're making the course." I just think that's
it's like like they say the GPS in the car. You're just recalibrating. That's what's happening. You got divorced, you're just going to recalibrate, baby. That's all.
We're talking about Loyalty, a gorgeous epic novel, a historic novel of the rise of the mafia in Sicily, but it's not really that. It's everything. It's justice and love and family and gorgeousness and sulfur mines and lemons and secret societies and all kinds of stuff. This is about justice, though. It's about justice, though. And you studied law, were a lawyer. I don't know how you can be unlawyer, but okay. But you have this passion about justice.
Yes.
How did that fold into this book? And then we'll talk about family.
I think it was because I love the question of justice as opposed to law, because law is a question for lawyers. And so even today, watching TV, everyone's talking about law. What's the law? What's justice, though, is what my mother would say things like, you know the difference between right and wrong. She also said the immortal, what's right is right, which I actually love. And there's something about what's right is right that we understand. And what I love about it is you don't need a law degree or a college degree. She didn't have one. You know it as a matter of, it becomes really what's morally right, but that makes it sound pretentious. It's really more one point is justice is a very accessible concept. And we all have an idea about it. That's why any case that gets in the news, the Murdaugh family, Casey Anthony going back, OJ going back before that, Russia, whatever whatever is the issue of the day, we have a view about a just result, and it involves us. We pay attention. You want to talk about powerful? Justice is a powerful concept, and it will drive plot. In Loyalty, the first page, a little boy is kidnapped. As soon as that happens, I feel for the mother when he's taken from her hands. I remember a sentence I put, I don't know why it just came out of me. I said, as soon as he's taken over, she looks around, she realizes he's not there. And the sentence says, I'm like, she would never forget this moment till the end of her days. And I thought, that's not usually how I write, but also when you write historical fiction, those words come out of you differently. It has to read of a period. And I thought, that's what justice is. For the rest of her life, she has the loss, but she has the injustice. And those concepts stay with you. So I love the power that it has as a narrative. I want to get justice for that kid. I want to see if he gets justice for that mother, for that family. And I feel it on every page.
Don't let me forget you all to ask Lisa about the historical voice, because I think that's important too. But let's talk about the boy who gets kidnapped and what happens to him, because no spoilers, but something terrible happens to him, which you did so much gorgeous research about and found out things that are so fascinating. Can you give us a bit about that?
Sure. Well, the headline is, part of what gave me this story is because in my research before I even went to Sicily, I found a little book online. It was completely in Italian, which unfortunately I don't read, but it was called The Royal Madhouse of Palermo. And I said, what's that about? And I thought it was so fascinating. And then I actually paid to have it translated so I could understand it. And then I went to it because it still exists. And what happens to the little boy, we're not giving anything away. It is the first page. The little boy is taken and he is stowed away. He's kidnapped and put in a madhouse, in that madhouse, which I went to its ruins. And I took all these videos, which you can see on my website. It's so cool, I think, for people who enjoy the book. And to study a little about what happened to the 1800s to, as they were called, the lunatics. The madhouse itself at that time was a kind of an abandoned convent that also held, in addition to the mentally ill people, held the tubercular people, syphilitic patients. By the way, none of these people get any treatment, and lepers. Mm-hmm. So you start to understand, now that's true. So you start to understand what happened to people who were had mental illness in those days. And then I came upon something else, which I won't give away, but how Sicily improbably, amazingly ends up being the next thing in psychiatry begins there, a more humane treatment of the mentally ill. And a real life person enters the book. And I make clear in the back of in the author's note what's clear and what's not, because I kind of love that in historical fiction. And I always wonder, right, did this happen? Did this happen? And so it just became such an interesting backdrop, which of course was resonant for the human condition. What happens to can you drive someone mad by poor treatment? Yeah.
And can you bring them back?
And can you bring them back? Well said. Exactly. That's why you have all those Emmys on yourself. And are a great author besides. Can you bring them back?
Well, I mean, it's the story is so touching and so poignant, and we're running out of time, but I'm sitting here thinking, did we talk about what the book is about enough? Did we talk about what the book is about enough? Okay, I want to make sure that you all know this is a big, gorgeous book club book that will make you think and will make you recognize how lucky we are and how important family is. Just talk a little bit, if you can, Lisa, about the found families and biological families and the need for family and how much that drives this book.
No, thank you. I mean, in short, in these characters, the one guy who sort of is the lemon grower has a twin brother and they're close, so kind of has family. And then there's the good guy who's a lawyer, the good guy in theory, and he's going to try to find, well, not in theory, really, he's going to try to sacrifice according to his moral principles and his religious principles, sacrifice his family to find the kidnapper of the little boy. But the other two people, what I started to notice was they were outcasts. They're outcasts from family. And you start to look at people and go, what is it like to not have family? Not everybody has family. And as we get older, we might lose family. And certainly, like in my case, not everybody has a hubby at home or a wife. There's people who are alone. And what do they do? And I go, well, what do I do? Let's give those people, let's show that life so that all of us see ourselves represented in full and our emotional lives and our lives in full. I have a best friend, Laura. I've got my wonderful daughter, and I fill my life up with, these crazy little dogs and people. And my readers really matter to me. I went out and toured for the first time since COVID with Loyalty, and it was great to see people again.
Well, I see Maria, and Maria Lou says she met you. Well, her comment is so far back, but when you get a chance, Lisa, go back when this is over.
I will.
Comments, because people are so happy, affectionate and enthusiastic and loving your book and loving being here. And there's so many people.
Well, so if I may interrupt you, Hank, it's not about me. It's not about the book. It's about books, what books do for people, that they connect people to each other, and we're all connected. And that's the magic of books. That's why people read. For me, that's why I read. I love that feeling of being centered and nurtured, and the connection when I read you and I read The House. How does she know so much about how marriages dissolve when she has a great marriage?
Because I had two dissolved ones as well.
Well, you're wise and you're emotionally intelligent. That's what I think of as the answer. You know so much about people and how women interact and how men interact and how they respond in relationships. And we're all just trying our best to portray that in some way to get to some.
And it's interesting because when you talk about that, men and women and how they react in their relationships, this proves that it doesn't matter whether it's contemporary time or historic time. Those kinds of things are equally important and equally interesting and revealing.
That's kind of you to say, because that's really a revelation for me when I started to write them. I thought these differences of time and setting, even though it's fun to go in your mind to a place that has, this color, this ain't Margate, New Jersey, although I love Margate, New Jersey, but, because there's vending machines, that these differences of time and setting are superficial, that the real story is universal and timeless. And that's true in everything you read. That's kind of amazing.
And that, I can't ask anything after that. That is gorgeous and perfect and wonderful, just like you, Lisa Scottoline. I know.
You're one of the best people in this business. And I know all of your viewers, no matter what screen you're on, know that. And all of your readers know that too.
Thank you. And Sherry Steuben says, love, Lisa. And speaking of this, you have so many questions, and I know Karen has been monitoring the questions throughout, and I know we have many of them. Karen, what are you popping up for us? Shannon Hansen. Hey, Shanson. I call her Shanson because the first time I did one of these, I was so nervous that I was talking so fast. This isn't even fast. I was talking so fast that I conflated her name into Shanson. So I call her Shanson.
Great, actually.
Shannon Hansen says, did you have a favorite character to write?
Well, first of all, I'm taken by her golden retriever because I had 3 Goldens and I love Goldens. Really? So cute. No, I didn't, because I think everyone was my favorite. Everyone has to be your favorite. You know, the great Sandra Brown said, even the villain is the hero of his own story. And I love that quote. So basically, you're in whoever you're in.
And when it's working, it's working. You know, that's
I hope it's working. You don't even know till the end. I listened to the audiobook of this book, which I think is so wonderful. And I can say that because I don't feel like I'm bragging, because it's its own performance. And I thought, oh, that's pretty good plot. Like, you would think she planned it, which she didn't. I'm just telling you, I'm not having any illusions, and I don't want anyone to have any mystery about me. It really just goes page by page.
Which is wonderful. It comes out, well, it works. And that's all that really matters.
It worked.
Who else has a question? What author would you be most excited to meet that you haven't met yet, says Sharon. Whoa, I bet you've met everybody.
Oh my God, I never leave my house. Are you kidding? You know, I can't answer that because there isn't a single one. I love meeting people. I love people. And you know what? I love meeting readers as much as I love meeting authors. And, you know, this conversation we're having, Hank, is as much about books as being an author. You have conversation. So I actually think that really, if I can just say, the best authors are interested in other people. So I don't define people by their profession, and I never did. So I'm happy I hope I get to meet Shanson. I hope I get to
Yeah, I do too. And Sharon, you know, we are just as eager to meet you. I mean, it's just really interesting. We have favorite authors, and we have favorite books. Let's say books, favorite books that we think are tour de force, fabulous, unput downable books, certainly. And, you know, we love meeting authors too. It's fun when we go to events, right? And everybody gets together and we can complain, right? About Renee, good question, Renee. And let's go on about that. Lisa, are you working on another novel now? If so, can you tell us anything about it?
Another golden puppy, Renee. Yes, I am working on a thriller now. I was just today. It's like, oh my goodness, I better get ready. But I am on 70,000 words of a domestic thriller entitled, I'll tell you, The Truth About the Devlins.
Dun, 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 dun. Now wait, because so is this because of what happened to the Bennetts? I mean, it seems it's very Lisa.
Like, Lisa, you're writing about family. Why don't you just go there in the title?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm telling you the title in advance. I don't know if it will stay. I think it will because I feel it.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm working on, and it's pretty exciting.
And speaking of what happened to the Bennetts,
I would just say it's fun to have a narrower focused, a really focused, intense pressure cooker kind of a story than a big expansive story like Loyalty. I was thinking it's expanding and contracting and expanding, contracting, but that's a lot of exercise. But yeah.
When does that come out?
Next March, this coming March.
Can't wait. Speaking of what happened to the Bennetts, any news to tell us?
Actually, I do have news. Did you know? Actually, we haven't really announced it officially, but we can say that it has actually been optioned for television by a wonderful production company for a limited series, which is so great. Oh, thank you, Shanson. And I'm very excited about that, but I can't even say any more about it. And but it's very nice because I hope that it will bring people to the books. I think it's a really great story. But honestly, I am a book person, so I love that. I hope more people will read my books from those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. First of all, I can see what happened to the Bennetts on screen. I mean, I can just
thank you.
So cinematic and perfect. But I do think that and if I can speak for myself because I'm a reporter and I will do that, that we write the books to be books. I write the books to be books that the movie and the reader's mind unspools. And tell us about, just quickly in the time we have, because I forgot to ask about the videos. You would do these wonderful videos from Sicily.
Yes. Well, I'll just say real quick to what you said is a good point, because sometimes people say to me, who would you cast? And I have no idea. I know that's a very disappointing answer, but I don't think of that.
No.
So there are videos, because what happened is when I did my research, I felt so cool being in Sicily during, sadly, when no one could travel, that I said, well, you should take videos. And also when I do research, I have very bad handwriting. So if I just take notes, I can't remember. It's just, I get them home. I have piles of paper that I can't read. So it's just take a video. And then as long as you're taking a video, might as well tell people about it. And there are 22 some videos on my website, which people can see. And in a way, there's an interactive map there too, which I thought was so cool. My bestie, Laura, came up with the idea. And so you can look at, let's say, any chapter in Loyalty and go, where is this place? And go chapter 3. And then you'll look on the map and you'll see the pictures I took there and the videos. It's my information. That's what I love about it. It's not like some stock photo. You'll know because my thumb's in the corner. It's like, oh, Scottoline trying to take pictures for her website. But I love that because I think that, look, readers are like me. I think we're kind of lifelong learners. And I kind of want to know, oh, tell me about that while I read the story or after. Was that real? How did the reality blend into the fiction? So I'm very happy that they're up on the website and people can look at them all the time.
And you must have had realizations from the videos about, I mean, is there one that I saw that was about how no women were on the street?
I know. And that happened in real time, which was weird because I'm writing about the 1800s. So I go to a small town, I want to experience small town Sicily. I happen to be on there Sunday afternoon and everyone on the street is a man. Okay. I don't even understand if you can understand that. There's a lot of people on the street and they're all men. They're talking to each other in group. Some are older, some are not. Also, I'm single. Normally, this is not a bad thing. I'm looking around going, I should move to Sicily. Like, that's my problem. Not only do I have to leave the house, but I'm in the wrong country. No, I'm only kidding. But I thought that's interesting because part of what happens in Loyalty is what happens to the role of poor Mafalda, who's a woman. What is it like to be a woman in 1800 Sicily? And what I saw was, in some ways, it wasn't all that different in the small towns where all the women are home cooking after church, the Sunday dinner, and the men are out smoking, playing cards, and socializing at the fruit stand.
You can almost hear the music, can't you?
I'm telling you.
Absolutely. Lisa, we are so over time, you all. We are so.
Oh, no. Sorry.
No, it's good. I lured you into it. Let's spin the wheel of fun to see who's going to win a copy of Loyalty. I feel like we should have music.
I know these names.
Isn't it?
I got an email from some of these names.
Oh, I know. Isn't it wonderful to see the gang is here?
Maria Leward.
Nice. Margaret Bernard can't win. She can't win. She's a producer at A Mighty Blaze, and I will send you.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh, she's great. We'll get her a book. She can have anything she wants. She's fabulous. All right. And the winner is My Year in Books. Yay. A completely marvelous Instagram blogger who.
I know that. Oh, that's so great. Well,
yes. And you'll get some info from Karen, our producer behind the scenes, to let you know how to contact us. And we will get you a copy of Loyalty, Lisa, and her marvelous.
I will sign it.
Oh, you'll sign it. Woo.
Absolutely. Of course.
Absolutely. Great. Yay. Thank you so much. You all, Lisa, first of all, thank you. Congratulations. Look at this ad in the New York Times book review. Must have been quite a treat to see. And the new listing and the instant New York Times bestseller, Loyalty. Congratulations. We are so pleased that you joined us today. Thank you.
You know, I adore you and your books. Thank you so much for this. And thank you everybody for being here.
We loved it. We absolutely loved it. Let me say before you all go that stick around at 4:30. We're doing another interview today. And we are talking to TJ Newman, whose new book, Drowning. Don Winslow says it's Apollo 13 underwater. Oh my God.
Great. It looks terrific. It really looks terrific.
It's a mile-a-minute propulsive, absolutely action thriller novel that all I can say is it's a perfect airplane book, except you don't really want to be on an airplane reading it, but it'll be inspirational. Anyway, TJ Newman is hilarious. She's brilliant. She is a former flight attendant who wrote her first novel, Falling, on like napkins on the plane, which became a bestseller. And now this is soon to be a major motion picture. And she has a wonderful origin story. Plus, she's great. So join us at 4:30 special time, not 4, 4:30 today, special time for TJ Newman and Drowning, which is not even out yet, so you'll get to hear about it first. And today we've been talking about Lisa Scottoline and Loyalty. And because we're not on till 4:30, gives you time to run right now, click, or call your local bookstore or order it at the library and get Loyalty. Lisa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. You all, we will see you at 4:30. If not, if you can't be there, okay, I'm going to do this. But next week at 3 o'clock, Deborah Royce and Reef Road. Look at that gorgeous Birds of Paradise cover.
Pretty.
And then at 4, Jacqueline Winspear, the iconic Jacqueline Winspear and the White Lady. We have all the books for you. So we'll see you at 4:30 or next Tuesday or anywhere that you read good books. Love you so much.